Any advice I'd have to any lost artist is to, one, assess what you're already doing. And two, just do. My name is Audra. I create under FAWX, and my creative outlet is songwriting and performing. I fell in love with music and making music before I even knew it. When I was young, you could get CDs, like you would have the single, the instrumental, the acapella, everything on the CD. So I would take the instrumental and I would rewrite the song that went to it when I was like 6 years old. I was 6 years old. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just like, but what if this person did it this way? Let me try that. So I would say that's when I really started noticing, like, this is my playtime. This is how, I want to spend my time at a young age. How I was making music at a young age is way different than how I create music now. When I was young, it was me in my bedroom. I was the engineer. I was whatever I needed to be. And I would be nervous when people entered my space while creating. Like, I would never want anybody to see me, hear me, figure it out, help me, or whatever. But as I grew and as I learned my skills and what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, I love having people in my space when I create now. You should never be in the room creating by yourself. It's too many assets. It's too many masters of their crafts around you. Like, tap into that, use those people. Let them use you. And I think that was the best advice I got, moving to a city where so many people or some skills at, what they create. And to me, it feels really good because it allows me to constantly be a student, which is something I need to do to constantly want to keep doing this, is to feel like there's more out there for me. So I would say collaborating is my favorite part of creating. Okay, one thing about me I'm realizing is I'm an avoider. My attachment style is an avoider, but I'm an avoider. So when life throws me all kind of obstacles and I'm forced to face change, how I create and who I am within the space of creativity is like weight I need to put on, my armor, I need to go to war. And that's never benefited me. I'm realizing it's like, as of this week, that's never benefited me. I actually need to maintain that one piece of consistency, that one safe space. And I think that'll help me, go through change a lot more. But what I can say is when I do come back to creating after dealing whatever life throws me or gives me, I do like the simplicity of my craft, because for me to songwrite, for me to perform, for me to just make music, the tools never change. So that safety is consistent, and I need that when there is change and so many things that I can't control. So I love that for me to create, all I need is me. I don't always have time to sit down and be like, well, that made me feel like this. Or, maybe I could do this instead. Or maybe this would have happened if. So I think when it comes down to me creating, and when it comes down to me really taking the time to write a record, or even having written a record, and I say that because I really don't even notice everything that's happening when I'm writing until I sit back and I listen and I'm like, well, damn, that's how I felt about this. When it's all said and done and I look back at what I've created, those are the answers to the questions that I didn't figure out when I was faced with adversity. So I say for me to create, and my process of songwriting is how I am self-aware. It's how I process my emotions, because I know that I'm avoided in the moment of a lot of things. So that's the relationship between my creating and mindfulness for me. If I think, I overthink. So my process of creating is not to think, not to go into it with an agenda or with an outcome in mind. It's literally to just go into it with whatever the circumstances, the environment, my feelings introduced to me in that moment. And sometimes it's shit, and sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's just for me, and sometimes I feel like I want to share it. I go through seasons, and I don't know if it's a mantra, but that's my understanding of everything, is we move through seasons. Like, us as human beings, we're not indifferent from actual nature, So I have seasons where I create, seasons where I want to study, seasons where I want to run away, seasons where I want to be inspired, So I have these seasons where like everything sucks, or all this, I only created this is for me, you know. And then I have these other seasons where I'm like, man, they gotta hear this. They gotta hear this. You know, so I don't even think it comes down to the individual songs or everything, and more so like this season of me should be shared. And I've been working really hard to remove ego out of the process of creating and sharing and just everything having to do with music, because a lot of times it'll lead to, you know, something being shared or finished prematurely when ego's a part of it. And it's so easy to think as an artist, like, I gotta put this out there before somebody else does, you know. Then I think that's just ego. I think sometimes people need to redefine what creativity is. It's so easy to be like, oh, somebody paints, somebody sings, somebody draws, somebody does this, and that's creativity. But it's like, okay, cool. You mow lawns. How do you do it? Horizontally, vertically? Are you starting at the driveway? Are you moving to the garden? What are you doing? You know, and I think that process of what we find joy in, how we create that path to joy, is creativity. And any advice I'd have to any lost artist is to, one, assess what you're already doing. And two, just do. Like, literally just do. I had like somebody from TaskRabbit come hang up some studio panels for the studio at my home. And he was like, oh, you make music? I always wish I was creative, you know? And I was like, honestly, you are creative, you've been creative. At some point, you were just domesticated out of it. At some point, you were just encouraged to prioritize success or survival over it. But once we understand that, or once we really tap into everything we're capable of, we can find that being creative is already there.